How's it going, everybody? It's Vince Nackard from the Monster Trakker Outlaws West podcast. We're back with another episode. Very excited for this one for sure, as we got a very special guest tonight. Very excited to bring him on. But before we bring him on, let's bring on Phil Vicinanza. Oh boy, look at the hair.
He's here. Intro, look at the hair. We're ready to rock and roll here.
Yes, we are. I mean, I don't know. We kind of delayed it a little bit, so we're gonna right into our.
Trust me, it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait.
It's gonna be worth the wait, that's for sure. But here we go. Our first guest of tonight, well, our only guest for tonight, I should say, is gonna be Ron Duncombe. Let's bring him on. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. They know him as Ronnie D or the Dunk, Ron Duncombe.
That's right. You guys can call me either or, I guess.
Got a lot of names, that's for sure. But anyway, you got a long history in this sport. You've been driving the Maverik Monster Trakker for a very long time now. But I want to know, how did you get started with motorsports?
That's a great question. I've been involved with motorsports my whole life. Really started BMXing as a kid and realized I didn't have the legs for that sport. So graduated into motocross, but was able to apply that with the twist of the right grip. And, well, we were a lot better at motocross than BMXing, that's for sure. And from there, had the opportunity to run some train cars at Rocky Mountain Raceways. Was able to parlay that into some late model lights and midget cars, and then I was always responsible for the Maverik giveaway truck that we used to do during the intermission of Rocky Mountain Raceways. Monster truck show. Did that for, 5 or 6 years. And during that time, got to be great friends with several of the drivers that were hanging out and whatnot. And the course, the promotion had kind of run its course. And Maverik pulled me into the boardroom one day and said, we think we're kind of done with these giveaway trucks, Ron. What do you want to do next? I says, well, you guys know what I want to do. I want to run a real monster truck. We worked with Paul Schaefer, was able to get a truck, and, well, the rest is history. 15 years later, here we sit talking to you boys.
Everybody's got to get their start, Ron. You mentioned it. You got hooked up with Paul Schaefer. You've driven a few of his trucks. What trucks were they, and what was that experience like driving for Paul for a short time?
I never really drove for Paul. I just, when we decided we wanted to get a monster truck, I remember I was in Las Vegas at a convention and took the red eye down to Paul's World Finals there in Florida, and that's when Paul threw me in. I believe it was the smoke truck originally, and that was the truck that we ended up buying from Paul and making the Monster Trakker.
So the original Maverik Monster Trakker, what was it? What was the first event you did as the Monster Trakker, and did you have any pre-show jitters going into that inaugural event?
Oh, dude, I was freaked out. I had no idea. From the seat of my truck, you could see nothing but the curvature of the earth, man. And as we know, I was like, well, when do we get a practice? and they're like, we don't practice. You learn when you compete. And my first show was at Rocky Mountain Raceways, which was always a really difficult show. As you know, it was a figure 8 course and whatnot. And that's where I learned to drive them. So I think I was at an advantage right out of the chutes with learning at RMR.
So what's it like representing a company like Maverik?
Maverik has been more than a fantastic sponsor. I was employed with Maverik for like 13, 14 years. They went through a corporate buyout, and things changed a little bit. At that time, the guys from Young Automotive Group and whatnot give me a call and wanted me to go back out and help them at Rocky Mountain Raceways with corporate relations, sponsorship, and hospitality at the racetrack, that's where I started back in 97, and then kind of worked my way into the position over at Maverik.
So you're working your way up through the ranks in monster trucks. Some of those early events, who were some of the people that you competed against?
I've had the opportunity to run against several folks. I mean, Dave Smith, Pablo Huffaker used to come out to Rocky Mountain Raceways the first few years. All the Bigfoot boys. I've got to be just fantastic friends with those guys over the years. Jimmy and Don, Larry Swim, Darren Mingus, and then as of lately, Kalen. So a lot of folks.
So as you keep kind of elevating through the industry, you get the call to go what they call the big time, and that's obviously Monster Jam. How did that come about, getting to compete in your first Monster Jam event?
That was a lot of fun for sure. We had the opportunity to run with Monster Jam for quite a few years. That was before they kind of went to the triple the triple format, and then with say the stadium or the Arena Cross series, to where they made it a traveling tour. But I used to always participate with Salt Lake, at the Delta Center back then, and then it moved to Vivint Arena, and then we always did the Idaho Center and the Reno Livestock event.
So tell us a little bit about your truck and your chassis. Is there anything different about the Maverik Monster Trakker than all the other trucks running out in the field?
We're a little different with ours just because we run the ZF axles under it, and those were the axles that I originally had with the truck. So with that, and then that video that you guys keep playing, that one hurts, by the way, a little bit. I see that and I'm like, man, Ronnie tomahawks himself at RMR, and I can tell you boys this, not a lot of give in that asphalt, that's for sure. But after that, I kind of destroyed that truck, and my crew chief is Rob Cherry, and he owns All Pro Performance up in Ogden, and he built us a new chassis, and that's the one we're in now.
All right, we're going to see if we have any questions here. I believe we got one from Cameron Miguez, our good friends at the Monster Cast podcast. He wants to know, Ron, have you ever danced in a country bar?
Oh, Cam, I'm telling you, yes, I have, and I'm not near as good as my buddy Cameron. That guy's a regular Fred Astaire. on the country bar dance floor because he's practically jamming the wax off it. And he was swinging my wife around like nobody's business out there. But yeah, we used to always take the boys when they're in town for Rocky Mountain Raceways to the old Bucket of Blood. I mean, the Westerner Club. And we dance the night away and get a little Western with it for sure. Then go do our deal at Rocky Mountain Raceways.
Well, some people may recognize your truck from the Nitro Circus movie. We actually have a question from Brian Anger. He wants to know any cool stories from your time on the set of the Nitro Circus movie.
Yeah. Just that it took a lot of years for me to realize every time I hung out with my buddies from Nitro Circus that somebody was probably going to the hospital or going to be in a sling. And it's all fun and games till somebody has a compound femur fracture.
Want to elaborate a little more on that? I know I've been out to Pastrana Land, and I know how rowdy those guys can get.
I'll tell you this, it's crazy. And some of the things that those guys would just come up with, it was like, that day for the 3D film, it was great because I had one of my most dear friends, Cam McQueen, with us that day. And typical Cam fashion, being the Canadian he is, well, he was late to the show. He come later than they had us there, and me and Rom's out there, and I'm kind of sizing up my ramp. And originally I had Cam's ramp. I'm like, we're gonna go ahead and mix this up a little bit. Let's change lanes with him. So Cam finally shows up. We're getting ready to rock and roll. We hit that jump probably, I want to say, like 46 times that day. I mean, it was just over and over and over and over. As you guys know how that filming goes, it can be rough. Well, Cam gets there and he's like, Dunk, are you gonna practice? I'm like, no, sir. And it looks pretty big and I don't want to tear my stuff up. So Cam's like, well, he was in one of Dave Smith's trucks. I think he was with Darren Basil, was with him that day. And so he jumped in the truck and, man, we're sizing it up. There's a big rain rut in his lane and whatnot. And he was like, wow. He says, that's pretty big. And I said, yeah, it's pretty big. And how Darren goes sprinting across the field there. And he says, man, hit it wide open. So we're standing there watching him practice, and we've got our cameras up, and here comes Cam, and he went right over the screenshot, toe picked it, rolled her end over end. I was like, whew, I don't want to do that. Tore that truck all to pieces. I think Godfrey got a pretty big deal that day.
Oh boy. Well, while we're on the topic of Nitro Circus, they're known for their crazy backflips. We have a question from John Goots. Use this promo code GootsRules at checkout if you want to get yourself some nice Pit Viper sunglasses. But he wants to know, when are we going to see the Dunk do a backflip?
That's a great question. And I was in a position at one time, I thought for sure we should do that. And then I had a little sit down with the brass and the folks that help pay my bills. And they says, Ron, you can do whatever you want once. And I took that for what it was. So I would like to do that, but as you guys know, it gets pretty crazy with that. And I feel very fortunate with everything that we've done with the truck because, it was never designed to be, say, the Monster Jam, burn it to the ground, leave it on the arena floor in 42 different pieces. It was always more of a marketing tool for Maverik and whatnot. And I still get to go have a little fun in it and tear it up here and there.
Always love seeing you tear it up. Hey, you were talking about Monster Jam and how you tear it up. I was just looking up an old flashback. Back in 2009, you won in the final round of racing at Salt Lake City against Bulldozer. That was like your big Monster Jam win. Do you even remember that? And what was that moment like?
I do remember that, and we were always able to be pretty competitive with some of those guys, and I believe it was Chuck Warner driving Bulldozer back then, and Chuck, always a fantastic guy, and helped us out along with Tom a lot over the years. So that was good. And I remember one time, what was it, 2012, and winning the Sportsman of the Year award for Monster Jam, going up on the big stage and whatnot, and was literally speechless. That was a real honor for me, and I was quite touched. Literally, for the first time in my entire career, I was speechless.
Well, we have another question. It's from your crew chief.
Whoa.
He wants to know, have you ever ate a hot dog or a corn dog, sorry, at the starting line?
There was a couple of times that had happened, where, our opponent leaves us handcuffed to the Christmas tree with his near perfect reaction time.
So Rob Terry's been your crew chief for like ever. Where'd you? So you talked about Ron, where you kind of found him. What's the relationship been like with working with Ron at all the different events?
With Rob, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Rob. Rob's like a brother. I absolutely love that guy. I couldn't do what I do without Rob, but I met Rob where he was one of the he was the fabricator of the original Maverik giveaway truck. He was running an off-road shop up in Ogden. We kind of connected, and he built the first few trucks, and then we went with another supplier or whatnot. But I'll never forget, I was kind of struggling, because I've always been more of the marketing and promotions type of guy, where I can get the deals done. But when it comes to mechanics and whatnot, old Ronnie, he's extremely limited. I was at a Monster Jam, and I looked up in the stands, and Rob was there with his family, and I was like, dude, I need to talk to you. So we had hooked up, and I'm like, man, I've got this new monster truck. Dude, this is way, way more work than I ever thought it was going to be. And we hooked up, and man, it's been a magical carpet ride for years.
Oh, absolutely. So look in the comments here. We got Kenny Mazak, otherwise known as Mr. Extreme. He wants to know, what is the wildest or craziest thing you've done inside the Monster Trakker?
What's up, Kenny? That's my fire-breathing buddy. That guy's nuts, man, for sure. But we've done a lot of crazy stuff with it, for sure. I'll never forget, I hooked up with the guys from Thrill Billies through my association with Nitro Circus. I grew up with Godfrey, and we were always kind of dirt bikers doing the deal and whatnot. And I'll never forget, they're like, Ron, we need you to bring your monster truck out to Little Sahara. And that's the dunes, probably, 150 miles south of us. And we went out there on like a Tuesday afternoon. Nobody's at the dunes, which never happens. And these guys, I got Crumb with them. Cam McQueen was filming at the time. And these guys are like, we've got this extreme skier, and we want you to pull him as fast as you can go in the monster truck. I'm like, as fast as I can go? I don't think they realized how fast this thing went. Well, anyway, yeah. give him a rope. We threw him on some water skis, and we pulled him around in the dunes. The guys are all setting up their cameras, and they're like, this is going to be the shot. This will be magical. What we need to do is have you carve on this razor, and he's going to shoot off the razor, and we'll get the shot. It's going to be awesome. I'm like, okay. So we're in this ginormous bowl, and I pin it. Dude, I toenail that thing, and away this guy goes. And we got right to the razorback, and he augured in like a lawn dart. And he sat in the truck the rest of the day drinking beer. I seen that cat probably 2-3 months later at a house party somewhere. And he's like, oh, man, something's still jacked up with my innards. But I'll never forget, this was before we ran radios and whatnot. And you know, you can't see nothing up in that truck. And so Rob runs over and he tells this guy, now, remember, if you fall, don't let go of the rope, because he can't see you up in there and he'll probably run you over. Man, it wasn't 40 feet out of the pits that he tipped over. And I drug that cat around for 2 or 3 minutes before they got me woed up and stopped. But he didn't let go of the rope.
That'd be called a world record wakeboard rail slide with a monster truck. One of a kind.
That was another crazy thing, you know, and these guys are like, come on down to Sand Hollow. We've got this professional wakeboarder. And I'm like, hey, I'm down. And that was great. So he was able to do it. I'm not sure if we ever made the world record or not, but I'm pretty sure that was something that has never been attempted or done since.
Well, our good friend Terry Woodcock's in the comments, and he says, can I get some beard grooming tips? It's looking good, Ron.
Oh, Terry, I caught your episode the other night, Terry, and COVID's. Well, it's got you a little crazy there, cowboy, but I loved it. So we had the first time I ever met Terry was West Hollywood Hills in New Mexico. And that guy's aces. I'll tell you what, he took such great care of us, and I'll never forget that weekend. That's when we had the opportunity to run with old Kirk Dabney too. So we're reaching back in the vault now, right?
That's a throwback.
That is a throwback, Bill. And it was funny because I'll never forget it. He's telling me, yeah, the doctor says I need to get a little exercise. And he's walking around in the pit smoking his cigar, walking his weenie dog on a leash.
All right, well, let's take a step back for a minute and let's talk about your truck. Now, when you're on the track doing a freestyle, what do you think your truck is most suited for? Maybe slap wheelies, sky wheelies, big air? What's your go-to move on the track?
You know, I always love the slap wheelies for sure. Wheelies are great. I noticed in the promo video, we stood one up pretty good there at Rocky Mountain Raceways down the front stretch. We popped a few good slap wheelies over the years. I remember we were racing Colorado National Speedway and was able to get an old tail dragger going there. But I like donuts. I like, just everything in the variety of it for sure.
Oh, looking in the comments here, we got our man Kendall. He wants to know what would you do if you let Wally Turner drive the Monster Tracker? I know you hang around with Wally a lot these days. What would it take to get Wally inside Monster Tracker?
You know what it would take, and I just had this conversation with Wally the other day. His fat wallet, and he's got it. See, the difference between me and Wally is you could use my wallet to gap the spark plugs in the Monster Tracker. We could use Wally's wallet and stand on it and see the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, we love Wally. He was one of our past guests as well. Hey,
oh yeah.
you've ran with Wally a lot. When he kind of got into the full-size monster truck business, wasn't his truck used to be your old truck?
Exactly. Yep. Wally ended up purchasing our old chassis after Rob built me a new chassis, and Rob was pretty instrumental on kind of helping him get that thing set up and whatnot, and getting him down the road. But I don't know if you guys are privy to this or not, but 2020 is my final season. I'm going to retire at the end of this year. So there was some talk about maybe, just because the whole year's been jacked up with the damn COVID and whatnot, we were thinking about kind of coming back for next year. But I had signed a 2-year agreement with my sponsors and the folks that are involved with me, and that term was through the end of 2020.
So it's been a very interesting year, and as you mentioned, this has been kind of like your retirement or farewell tour. What's the decision on kind of winding down your monster truck career?
Just the decision is, it's been a magical ride, guys. I've enjoyed it. I've met such wonderful people. I've developed a huge fan base that has always been super supportive of me, and I've got a lot of laps around the track. Some of those hits now start to hurt. I don't want to be that guy in the chair, and a lot of it, to be totally honest with you guys, is sponsorship driven and whatnot. Things are getting tighter and tighter. Companies are struggling to do a lot of sponsorships with many forms of motorsports, as we all see now.
You talk about doing laps around the track. You've done plenty of laps, that's for sure. But I have a question. You've done a lot of laps in a lot of places. Is there one place that you've traveled to that stands out? What is your favorite place? Where is your favorite place to perform in the Maverik Monster Trakker?
That's a great question. We've had so many great stops through the years, but I think probably the one that stands out the most to me was when we had the opportunity, and I did a sponsorship, a promo deal with a large convenience store chain out of San Antonio, Texas. And we had the opportunity to go down and do the Alamo Dome a couple of years in a row. And that was a big show, man. I remember pulling into that building, and it was beyond my wildest dreams for sure. I think at that time, Monster Jam had set an all-time attendance record where they had like 107,000 people come through the Alamo Dome with both shows. So, but yeah, I remember I was racing Bradshaw, but a big building, a big floor. I was racing Bradshaw one of the rounds, and hitting that first jump and just seeing all the flash bulbs pop and whatnot. That was pretty bitching.
We have a question from Cameron Miguez. Once again, he says, are you going to chase a career in motivational speaking?
That sounds good. I mean, if Cameron comes down sick or whatnot, because, and I've known Cam for years. He's always been just fantastic. His brothers, just top-notch people. But, man, he's really taken to this podcast deal kind of like a duck to water, hasn't he? Much like yourselves.
We all have to stick together in the podcast game, just like in the monster truck business.
That's right.
Yep.
Hey, so look in the comments here. We have another podcaster, Daniel Chiche. She's been asking about your relationship with Maverik. Now, we've talked about it a little bit early on in the episode. Do you have any fun memories from maybe doing some corporate events with Maverik over the years?
Fantastic question, Cheech, for sure. And in the beginning, I'll tell you, because I felt like I kind of had sold my soul to Maverik to get the ball rolling with the monster truck, because this was a big step for these guys and whatnot. And that first year I got the truck, I'll never forget. I had a radio remote tour, and this was, in the beginning, Maverik was a good sized company, but it was only in 5 states and had 140 stores or whatnot. But I did radio remotes twice a week, all summer long, tearing down and setting the trucks up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and doing it in weather just like this. It was like I finally got to the point, it just ground me to powder. I was like, you guys realize that if this is the direction we want to go, we probably need to go back to the giveaway trucks where you just park her out on the horn, open the stores, crank the stereo, and the looky-loos come by. I says, this is really not designed to do what we're doing with it. But there was a grand opening one time at a store, and we had a field in the back of it, and a pretty good field. But I did a little car crush, and we used to do some of that stuff back in the day. But I'll never forget. You guys know how it is. I mean, when we flip the visor down and tighten the seatbelt, something comes over us, and I sunk into kick-ass donut, and I was flinging rocks all over. People are running away. There was some property damage. I broke a few windows, and needless to say, that was the end of our exhibitions at the grand openings.
Oh, man. Well, I'm seeing this question come up in the comments quite a lot, and I want to know it myself. And Dallas Glenn Rogers is in the comments. We
Nice.
Some while back. He wants to know, what was it like racing super light trucks in the Lucas Oil Off-Road Series?
Hey, Dallas, what's going on? That was so much fun, you guys, as a racer, and coming from the midgets and whatnot. I had the opportunity to head down to Ventura, California, went through Corey Kruzman's dirt sprint car school, and then started with the super lights in the beginning. And that was John Harris company out of Reno, where it was more of kind of a arrive and drive program with a lot of different action sports stars. At the time, I was doing my radio show. I used to host a weekly motorsports show here in Salt Lake, and we had just wrapped up filming of Maverik's Kickstart TV, where I was the host, and we took everyday people on extreme adventures. We used to throw school teachers out of perfectly good airplanes. I did surf school. We did bobsledding. We did a bunch of stuff, and that just kind of rolled into that. At the time, I was doing the super lights for like the first couple of years, and then they abandoned that program. And at that time, we decided to go pro light racing, and purchased a pro light, and we did that for a couple of seasons, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great promotion for Maverik, because at the time Maverik was growing huge, and the Lucas Oil Off-Road Series went to a lot of different markets that Maverik was just entering or whatnot. So it was a great way to throw our hat in the arena.
Awesome. We have another question from Steve Eggington. He wants to know, Ron, who is your favorite photographer?
Hey, well, that's simple. That'd be the Water Buffalo. That guy's fantastic, paparazzi. How are you, Shooter?
Hey, Ron, you're always a one-of-a-kind guy, and I was talking to my buddy Brian Anger earlier, and whenever we go to the events, everybody's always got T-shirts or hats or all kind of the same novelties. But you make a point to always be different, and you sell socks. And you make it a point to always be in those socks, even if you're not wearing any shoes in the pit party. What's the decision on just making socks and standing out from the rest of the crowd?
You know, it was just one of those things. You think about it. I mean, we've all got our hats. We've all got our T-shirts. You're exactly right. But I thought, man, wouldn't socks be bitching? So we busted out the tracker socks, and they were a huge hit. You know, I have a good friend of mine that used to be responsible and did the merchandising at Rocky Mountain Raceways for a lot of years, and he was the king of coming up with different things. You know, we'd have those light up glow sticks and, you know, some different face masks that light up and whatnot. And I was talking with him, and I'm like, man, I really want to do something. He's like, I got the perfect thing, Ronnie. Socks. The rest of the story.
We got Mike Minter in the comments. He wants to know, Ron, what do you think about those mini monsters?
That's my new buddy, right? Those my friends from San Diego.
Yep, that's him.
I'm pretty sure.
It was super cool. You know, I've always had the opportunity to kind of see him, you know, through social posts or whatnot, but never really had the opportunity to run with those guys. But when Tremonton got rescheduled, they pitted across the street from me, and talk about a first-class operation and super, super cool people. And what a fantastic opportunity for these youngsters, because they're legit, you know, and such great people. So it was really nice to visit with them. And I even went over there and checked them all out and whatnot, was BSing with the guys. And I think they're a great thing. You know, one of the things that I've always loved with motorsports is we need some kind of a feeder program, you guys, because, you know, guys like me, we're turning into dinosaurs and whatnot. We're going to go extinct. And if we don't have the young blood coming in, if you will, this stuff will all dry up. And, well, none of us want to see that, right?
Pretty sure we got another question. We got one from Kevin Beal. He said he wants to know about your trip to Oklahoma and tornado warnings.
Oh, jeez, Kev. Really? We got to go there? So, yeah, there's a few years I used to be a traveling sales rep, and I would fly out to different locations. Well, being from Salt Lake City, I never had the chance to go to the Midwest. This was probably, I don't know, in the early 90s or whatnot. I get my rental car, I fly into St. Louis, and I drive to Fairbury, Nebraska. You guys never been to Fairbury. I don't think a lot of people have ever been to Fairbury. It was like Mayberry. Well, I'm driving in my rental car. This was before, you know, we all had cell phones and whatnot connected to our heads and our hands. And I'm bombing down the freeway in my rental car, and bleep, 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 bleep. Radio starts blowing up, you guys. I'm freaking out. And I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like, extreme tornado warning. Wichita County, all these different counties. And I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? The weather looks clear. So I just pulled over on the side of the freeway right there and went and laid in the ditch. I laid in the ditch and I popped my head up. And I'm like, I don't see any tornadoes, but, you know, I've seen the movies before, and I didn't want a cow come flinging by me.
Oh, man. Well, I did hear you mention something about rental cars. Do you have any funny rental car stories?
I think Terry covered all those good rental car stories, but I'll tell you what, I've never been gentle on a rental. I can assure you cats of that. And don't buy one. That's the tip of the day for sure. But we've done more crazy things in rental cars. I remember we were a trip to LA one time. We had a van. I'd load all my buddies in it. We would drive it around with the doors open and pretend we were all in a helicopter. That was a pretty good time. But I remember we were in Griffith Park. And there's this gal that's running along the side of the road, and we're king of the e-brake, so we come skidding up, and man, this gal jumped out of her clothes. You guys, she's like, "You scared me so bad. What's going on?" I'm like, I don't know what's up with these brakes. I mean, I touch it and they just lock up. So it seems strange, but as you were, carry on.
Well, another question from Chris Walquist. He wants to know, can you talk about the first time you beat Pablo Huffaker at Rocky Mountain Raceway?
That was a big win. That was probably one of my greatest wins, and with that being the turning course like it was, it was always pretty even. If you figured the track out and whatnot and run them hard, you could get to it. But typical Pablo fashion, we were quick there. We could get around pretty good, and it was close. It was a close race, and going into the second to last corner, Pablo washed out, and we run her across the stripe and got the W. So that was a big win for Ronnie.
Awesome. Now you talk about. There's a lot of comments talking about Rocky Mountain Raceway. Do you have one moment from Rocky Mountain Raceway that stands out in your career?
I have so many fantastic memories from RMR, and I'll tell you what, we sure miss it. It's one of those things that we see it all the time anymore. The dirt under the track becomes more valuable than the track itself. But just hanging out, and the fans and what a huge event it was. But some of the after parties and whatnot where we all get together, it was either at my hauler or the Bigfoot hauler or Jimmy's or the Twins or something like that. But fantastic memories for sure. And that was probably the scene of the crime where I wasn't smart enough to lift that one time and tomahawk myself. So that's it.
We have a question from Sherry Eccles. She wants to know, hi, Ron. I'd love to know who was your favorite receptionist in the last 4 years at RMR.
Well, we both know who that was. That was you, Sherry. So thanks for tuning in. And yeah, just great memories. Worked with wonderful people and did a lot of cool things. During the week out there, I was in charge of. I had the opportunity to run the drag race experience with a couple other guys out there. Kurt Stewart, the guy who run the motocross track and whatnot, and to put people in different cars, whether they were Mustangs or Camaros or Hellcats or whatnot. A lot of fun.
So a lot of your events that you're doing these days are with the Monster Truck Insanity Tour. That's actually where the last time I saw you out at the Core Arena in Las Vegas. How much fun is it running with those guys on the Insanity Tour?
That's been a great fit for us, because like me and Rob, I mean, this is more of a hobby for us. It was never a full-time gig. We've all got day jobs and whatnot. And when I hooked up with Skylar and Brittany and the rest of those guys, and I call them family because they are like family. And it was a match made in heaven for us. They're in our footprint. They run primarily in the states that Maverik's in, and they've been wonderful to work with over the years. I just wished I would have hooked up with them a little sooner, for sure. But now we do these shows and whatnot, and it's just a great atmosphere. Everybody is like family with those guys, and I've sure found a home with them. I enjoy it.
Dallas Glenn Rogers is back in the chat, and he says, if Maverik is Adventure's first stop, what would be Adventure's second stop?
If Maverik is Adventure's first stop, the second stop, well, I don't know. This is probably a family show, and you guys might not want to incriminate me with this. So, let sleeping dogs lie right there, right?
Not bad, not bad. So, looking through some of these comments here. Kendall is asking here, when is your last show planned for 2020, or in general, if this is your final year?
It's certainly looking like it is. I got grandkids now. Rob's got, grandbabies on the way, and we're all starting to slow down a titch, but it looks like from the schedule right now, the Utah State Fair, September 20th, will be my last event. And I'll tell you what, y'all come out to that, because we're going to burn that place down and have one hell of a party.
That might be a heck of a party, but I've seen in the comments that you're not one too much of after parties. People that coming up, Vinny?
Yeah, let me see here.
Where is it?
I don't know where it is.
Oh, well. So from Skylar, Ron has never once attended an after party. Let's be honest.
Well, you're probably. Let's all be honest. Okay. Well, then we'll leave that right there, huh, Sky? Last time I was at an after party with him, it was at the Core Arena, and I think I went home bloody.
So that Core Arena event, that's the last time I saw you at. How much fun was it getting to compete with the Vegas lights right in the background?
Dude, that was really, really cool. I mean, for the first time in history to do an event like that, and right there on Fremont Street, basically, good time. For whatever reason, I never had the opportunity to run at Sam Boyd. I always wanted that. That's kind of the one that slipped away, so to speak. And there was one year when I remember they would let us independents take a couple speed passes down Thunder Alley, and I was all in. I was getting my suit on. I told Robbie, I'm like, let's send her. I want to see what it does. And Sean Doohan went right before us, and he augured his truck in, and I'll tell you what, he tore it all to pieces. And at that point, I'd had a conversation with my crew chief, and we thought the better of it, so to speak. So
that's pretty cool to hear, but it's that time again. It's time for the segment of the show where we take a photo from your social media, and you have to explain that. Explain that photo starts now. Well, I'm pretty sure Phil has a picture for us to bring up on the screen.
I'm pretty sure I do too. Show me a picture.
All right, here we go. Explain this picture, Ron.
Jerry the King Lawler. That was me hanging out on Beale Street and partying with one of my all-time favorites, dude. We hung out. I had pictures in his chair, and that was a good time right there. So help me out, you guys, because I've been around the world. I've been pretty blessed, but that was not Nashville, but Memphis, right?
You would be correct. That's usually where Jerry's known to hang out with.
Oh, he was right there, dude. And I'll tell you what, he is the king.
Long live the king.
Yeah, long live the king. But we got one more picture for you, Ron.
Uh-oh.
Explain this picture.
So this was the time that we did a corporate event for Mountain Land Supply. And that little guy on the left was a jockey. And I believe he was riding the pony Bluegrass in the 7th race that day.
Interesting.
No, that's Mark Eaton, and I'll tell you what. Look at that guy. It's 7-something. He's staring in the side window of the tracker there, and I look like a pygmy, for heck's sakes.
That guy's 7'4". Definitely a giant.
And just a super, super nice guy, dude. So.
Did you ever have aspirations to become a horse jockey?
You know, unfortunately, I'm full grown, so 205 pounds, you know, Ronnie'd be riding sway back, I guess.
Hey, so we were talking about earlier giving Wally Turner a shot to drive the Monster Tracker. What about Margaret? Would you let her drive?
You know, I would probably let Margaret drive that. There's a few things that we need to do as we kind of get closer to the stripe, if you will, and unwind this thing. So I'm pretty sure there's a real short list of some folks that'll have the opportunity to go ahead and saddle her up.
So Monster Tracker's really been your home for your entire career. If you ever had the chance to drive another truck, what truck would it be and why?
You know, I would think that, and you know what would be magical, guys, is as an independent and a guy who's always been kind of on the rev limiter, if you will, and on the chip, so to speak, that it would be fantastic just to one time have the opportunity to burn one to the ground like some of these guys are doing. And you know, I've always loved the foot trucks. Those guys have been some of my best friends in the world, whether it was Dan or Larry. And I would love to have the chance to drive one of those. You know, great friends with Tom. Tom's always been super, super wonderful to me. I'd like to have the chance just to skyrocket a Max D one of these days, show the people in the cheap seats the drain plug, if you will.
Oh, yeah. We have a question from Donald Stetcher. He wants to know, when you do retire, what will you miss most from the Monster Truck scene?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I feel like I've been so blessed, you guys, just to meet so many great people. But I think I would miss the most probably just the interaction with our fans, you know, and that special connection that we have with those guys. You know, I won't miss some of the work. I won't miss the late nights, but just those relationships and the interaction with the fans and whatnot. And that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for sure. You guys hear my hunting dog? He's out there and he wants to come in. So I think Margaret's out doing the yard. So I'm like, I got to jump on with these guys. And so as it cools down here in the city of Salt,
Well, I wish I could say the same here in Arizona. I think it probably peaked at 120 today. So, wish it was a little bit cooler, but hey, I guess it could always be worse.
I'm really sorry for your luck there, Phil. That's got to be hotter than Hades' Kitchen, right?
Pretty darn close, or maybe a rival's Hell's Kitchen as well. Looking in the comments here, we have Travis Palmy, frequent viewer. He wants to know, what advice would you have for somebody trying to get into the monster truck business?
That's a great question. I would just say, just work hard, and never stop dreaming. I mean, look, here's a kid like myself that grew up in South Murray. That's where my accent comes from. So, but I always dreamed of having the opportunity to drive a monster truck, and you just got to keep grinding, make it happen. Don't settle for anything less. And look at me, man. Dreams do come true.
Well, you never stop dreaming, and if you always say, if you can dream, you can achieve, and make it all come full circle. You've gotten to work with a lot of incredible people, especially as of late, a lot of guys like Craig Christensen, who is such a seasoned veteran. You have any fun Craig Christensen stories?
How long's this program? Grandpa Craig, I'll tell you what, he's original pioneer. He built the deer trail we're all walking on in this industry, and he's beat that right down. But no, I mean, the first time that I got the truck, it's got that ratchet style shifter, and I'd run Craig and whatnot, and it's a turbo 400. It's a 3-speed, and I could never really figure out in the beginning how to get her into third, and so she'd be bouncing around on the rev limiter a little bit, and Craig always called me Shift It for years. Hey, Shift It. So, but now I love running with those guys, and Paul and Michael and all of them. It's been miles of smiles for sure.
Definitely a future Hall of Famer. Hey, so what are you going to do after you retire? I know you've kind of hinted around here. Do you have any set in stone plans for what's next for Ron Duncombe?
That's a great question for sure. I would I don't know. I've been so blessed. I definitely want to be still involved. I like to do things with monster trucks and whatnot, and the possibility of doing some announcing would be cool. I do have a lot of background in stuff like that, but I'll never get too far away from it. But it sure be nice to do some different things on weekends, and I can tell you guys this: I'm planning on killing a lot of ducks and geese.
Talk about Craig Christian earlier. Let's talk a little bit about Wally Turner. Do you have any funny Wally Turner stories that stands out in your mind?
Again, the list goes on and on with Wally, but yeah, he's a wild one for sure, old Wally. But probably the time he carried me across the arena floor and put me in the hauler was a good story, but we'll tell that one on a different time.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, so you've accomplished a lot in the business. Is there anything that you've kind of always wanted to do, but just never quite got around to doing it in monster trucks?
Yeah, there's a few things. Like I say, we were always kind of under a little different program. I wish that it was more of, say, a full-time opportunity for me. I think it would be great to have some of those opportunities where you had the opportunity to just burn one to the ground. run it as hard as you could possibly run it and let the chips fall where they may, for sure. With that, though, I'm a cat who, man, I pinch myself every day, you guys. I've done such amazing things and met wonderful people, and have always had my family support and just wonderful friends and fantastic fans. So there's not too much that I have any regrets of.
We have a question from John Goots. He wants to know: is the Monster Trakker retiring as well, or will someone else be taking over that truck?
That's my truck. So I don't. I'm working with Wally and with his fat stacks. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But no, if we've got viewers or listeners out there that have any interest in the possibility of buying a truck and chasing their dreams, hit us up.
We have a comment from Steven Anderson. He says Brandon BJ Johnson says he will drive the Monster Trakker.
Yeah, that's probably the last thing we need is my buddy BJ driving the Monster Trakker. We'll load that thing in the trailer with a magnet, right?
Ron, as we slowly start to wind things down here, we've talked about Rocky Mountain Raceways all throughout the night. It seems like every answer has a tie-in back to that speedway. How much did that speedway mean to you throughout your entire motorsports career?
It's so sorely missed, you guys. I mean, it was such a big part of my life. I spent over 22 years there. I mean, I was probably like the first or second employee to be hired at Rocky Mountain Raceways in the beginning, and to see Spencer Young Sr.'s vision and the investment that he put in that place, and just the great things that I had the chance to do. Whether it was racing or developing those partnerships and sponsorships. I mean, that's where there goes Margaret. Did you see her? She was like a ginormous elk cutting through the tree. It's like, there's one. Hey, you want to say hi on the TV? This is live.
Hey,
there she is.
who am I talking to?
This is my boys from the Monster Truck podcast.
Oh, nice.
It's Phil and
Hey,
Vincent.
how are you guys?
So remember Phil from Vegas?
Yeah. Nice.
So Margaret, they want to get you in the Monster Trakker for an event.
I would love to do it.
Everybody wants to see it.
Before it's sold, I'm going to drive it.
Hope that's a promise. Can't wait to see it.
Guaranteed.
I love it.
You guys are getting me in trouble here. That sounds expensive. Vince, where do I send the bill? Your way?
Somewhere over between Hades and hell with that heat.
That's right. That's right.
Vinny, you have another question there.
Yes, I do have another question. So if you're on the road, what's your go-to place to eat? Applebee's, Texas Roadhouse, what would it be?
The good Lord has blessed me with sharp teeth. So wherever we can get a carnivore style steak, I'm all in.
Well, I've got to be Texas Roadhouse for me if you want a good steak.
I love the Texas Roadhouse. It's always a go-to. The one thing that going back to Rocky Mountain Raceways, there for several years, as all the drivers would come out and whatnot, I would host the guys, and we would do a huge dinner on the Friday night before the kickoff of the event, and we moved around to some different places, but those were always lots of fond memories for sure.
And you sure have made a lot of memories over the years. This will be our final question for the evening. You've done a lot in the motorsport business and especially monster trucks. And whether or not this year really is your final tour driving the Monster Trakker, when it's all said and done in motorsports in general, what do you want your legacy to be?
What a great question. I would think, honestly, you guys, because again, I wasn't always the fastest. I wasn't the craziest, but just an all-around good guy that sure had a ton of fun and was able to meet some just amazing people over the years who I love for sure. And thanks for the opportunities and the memories, because it doesn't get any better than that, boys. It really doesn't.
No, you're exactly right, and the memories will live on forever. Ron, it's always been a pleasure seeing you at the events, whether it be World Finals or in competition, and hopefully I'll get to see you compete one more time before you wind it down in your monster truck career.
Thanks so much, Vince. Phil, you guys were amazing. Keep up the great job, because you guys are knocking it out of the park for sure. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thanks so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun, and I certainly enjoyed it. I hope you cats did too.
Oh, we certainly did. Definitely loved having you on, Ron, and talking to you. Maybe we can have you on some other time. Who knows? Who knows what comes in the future? But we want to thank you one more time for coming on the show, Ron. Had a lot of fun.
Anytime, guys. You guys have a great evening. You take care of yourself. Stay healthy, and see you boys soon.
Thanks, Ron.
Great guy.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
A lot of fun stories with Ron. I know it's one of those guys. I'm sure he has a couple more, and who knows? Maybe he'll have the itch once he quote-unquote retires. That's always a funny thing in monster trucks. Nobody's ever fully retired in monster trucks, so it'll be interesting to see what the rest of Ron's career has in store.
Definitely a fun night in the podcast for sure. Definitely a memorable one. But, if you haven't liked the podcast page, make sure you go do that after this is all said and done. We appreciate it. Make sure you share. Help get this episode from night, get as many views as possible. But, it's time to end the show. Phil, you know the drill. What's next?
Well, what's next is who's coming up next here on the podcast. We've had a lot of great guests that have been around so many different eras of the sport, whether they just got started or they were there from the very beginning. And I think our guest next week might be one of those pioneers here on the West Coast.
Oh, definitely. And when you see this video, you're going to know exactly who it is. Roll it.
That's right. Next week on the Monster Truck Outlaws of the West podcast, we're bringing on Monster Truck Hall of Famer Seth Dalton. You saw it in the video. He's the man behind the trucks. But he did so much more than that. He was one of the first promoters out here on the West Coast. He's one of the first guys to bring big name money into the sport. And one of those first guys that just had a mega team of monster trucks running around the West Coast. So it's going to be really interesting to hear Seth's story and also to catch up with what he's doing now in his current business.
Most definitely. And I'm very, very excited for next weekend. And it's going to be awesome having Seth on the show. But we'll see you guys next Friday, 6 o'clock Pacific time. Make sure you like the Facebook page and share. See you guys next Friday.